Today on Fueled Up, we're going to discuss why drifting is such a rapidly growing motorsport and the little things that make it so awesome. Hello, I'm Matthew Valentino, and this is Fueled Up, the podcast from car enthusiast for car enthusiast. So, getting straight into drifting and just being real here, drifting, in my opinion, has to be one of the sickest forms of motorsport out there. It's just so fascinating how drivers could maintain control while losing control of their car, essentially. Because you don't want to go straight, you want to go sideways, but then at the same time, there has to be a little more to it than just going sideways. Now, not to put down any other sorts of motorsport, because they definitely all require full sending and staying in it and just not being scared, because that's just some racing. You see guys on each other's bumpers going 100 and change. Just it's crazy. You know, these guys are just serious drivers, and they've been doing it for a long time. And just like drifting, you know, over and over, you get better at something, you go faster, you get closer. So take a look for yourself. If you know the littlest bit about drifting, then you probably know that it all started in Japan. In about the early 1970s, they started sliding these cars sideways, and they had the perfect chassis to do so, of course. They had the Nissan 240SX, the JZX90, JZX100, just, you know, all these cars that gave them the ability to put the power to them and just have the parts available after companies did some R&D. You know, Japan is lucky. They have Up Garage, which is an absolute dream candy store for us car guys. I would love to go see one day. Now, what I personally find to be the coolest thing about drifting in Japan, and a lot of places are actually trying to replicate this now, is that in Japan they have this yearly holiday for us car guys called the Matsuri. And it's a 24-hour-long drift event that all these foreigners, or as you would say, gaijins, or if I said that wrong, go down, and they all pretty much drift for 24 hours straight. There's a few different tracks for people to choose from. There's a local shop so you can mount and balance tires, or, you know, if anything goes wrong, hopefully get it fixed to be able to get back out there and run some hot laps. But they also have this competition called the G1GP. So basically all of the foreigners who went down to Japan and Ebisu Circuit to drift for the weekend get to compete against each other. And it's cool because there's people from all over the world. So if you're back in your hometown drifting, you kind of know what you're going to be paired up against. But Japan is like, you know, picking out of a hat. One of the earliest recorded drift events outside of Japan was in 1996 at Willow Springs Raceway in California. And that was pretty much the start of what we knew as grassroots style drifting, which is pretty much your average young adult who's just getting into the sport, who doesn't have any sponsorships or a big budget to back him up. So, you know, he's just piecing his car together to try and go spin some laps on the weekend and have some fun. Then there eventually became Formula Drift, where the pros get down and, oh, is it fun to watch in person? Completely different experience. So before we even start talking about them, if you haven't seen it in person, you have to try. It's an outstanding experience. It's crazy, surreal. These cars sound nuts. They're right on each other. They're going fast, and they're coming around the bend hard. Now, unfortunately, they only meet like less than 10 times a year, but it usually is all over the country, so hopefully you could catch an event somewhere like in Texas or Florida or even Wall Stadium in New Jersey, where I went. The upside to there being so few professional competitions each year is that these drivers get to go to different events like Grid Life at Road Atlanta over the years, and people, could go spectate and watch them just tear all day. And it's not like a competition format. It's more like freestyle. So these guys are getting backwards, close, they're putting on a show for us. Exactly what we want to see. I brought him up in my first podcast, but YouTuber and Pro 2 Formula Drift competitor Adam LZ is probably one of the reasons that I love drifting so much. He started off, doing grassroots style, funding himself, just little by little, piecing his car together. And over the years, through his YouTube and viewership, he gained some sponsorships, and he was able to build a pro car with Injuku Racing, it's absolutely sick. Although he's now driving professionally, he wanted to prove to all his viewers that you can have fun on a budget, and you don't need to have these wild sponsorships or this crazy team behind you to just go out to a local event and spin some tires. If you yourself is looking to get into drifting, yes, it's great, it's awesome, it's fun, but you must be warned. There is drift tax, and you have to be completely understanding that you're putting the most stress on this car, or any car that you drift, that it'll ever see in its lifetime, forcing it to stay sideways, kicking the clutch over and over and over, pulling on the e-brake, just putting so much pressure on all these parts and different things. Something's going to break. And not to be Debbie Downer, but if it doesn't break from something going wrong, which is always awesome, there's always a chance that, somebody will either slide into you and hit you, or you slide into someone else. I hope you all get out there and start smoking some tires yourself. I'm your host, Matthew Valentino, and thank you so much for tuning into the Fueled Up Podcast. I'll see you next time.